The life of a man is not a vacation. It is not a storybook filled with soft landings and endless rewards. It is a battlefield, one where silence is often the only sound, and pain is the currency of meaning. Every man, whether he admits it or not, is fighting. Fighting to matter, fighting to be seen, fighting to make his suffering mean something. And the worst part, even if you win today, you still lose eventually. Your body will betray you. Time will outrun you. People will forget your name unless you've carved it in stone through greatness. Arthur Schopenhauer, the bleak philosopher of existence, understood this better than most. He didn't sugarcoat life. He didn't pretend it was fair. He saw the raw machinery of nature, its beauty, yes, but also its cruelty, especially in relationships between men and women. And what he uncovered, most men still aren't ready to hear. Let's start with one hard truth. She smiled at your scars, not because she hoped they'd heal, not because she felt your pain, but because they proved you bled for her. You were told that women desire strength, and they do, but not the strength you think. They don't crave invincible strength. They crave strength that suffers for them, strength that is tested, broken, and keeps standing. That's the kind of strength that awakens her primal instinct, the kind of strength that earns her respect. Schopenhauer once said, "The fundamental fault in the character of women is that they have no sense of justice." It sounds harsh, but let's go deeper. Justice at its core is about acknowledging sacrifice, saying, "You gave something up for me, and I see it." But to the feminine instinct, your sacrifice isn't something to thank you for. It's something you're supposed to do, a given, a duty, a baseline. You gave up your time, you paid the bills, you worked yourself to exhaustion. To her, that's not noble. That's expected. You're the man. You're supposed to bleed. You're supposed to break. And here's the gut punch. She doesn't see that as cruelty. She sees it as nature. Schopenhauer didn't write this to make you resent women. He wrote it to unmask reality. Women exist in the main solely for the propagation of the species, not because they're selfish, because life designed them for survival. And survival demands more than emotions. It demands utility. So what kind of man does a woman instinctively respect? Not the lighthearted dreamer, not the man who avoids pain, not the man who seeks emotional safety, but the man who walks through fire without ever asking for sympathy, the man who suffers in silence, who bears his cross with no choir behind him. That is the man her DNA was programmed to select. You've probably seen this play out. You give, you bend, you break, you stay up late to listen, you wake up early to work, you write the long messages, you send flowers, you say sorry when you weren't even wrong. And what do you get? Distance, indifference, maybe even disrespect. Why? Because somewhere deep in her subconscious, your need for recognition becomes a signal that you're not as strong as she hoped, that maybe, just maybe, you're bleeding not from courage, but from weakness. Here's the brutal irony. The man who cries for validation rarely gets it, but the man who suffers in sovereignty, he becomes magnetic. Why? Because to the primal mind, vulnerability is not intimacy. It's danger, and danger must be rejected. So your soft words, your quiet pain, your unspoken sacrifices, if not carried with dignity, they're invisible to her. That's why Schopenhauer said, nature has endowed woman with the art of dissimulation. She will smile at you while measuring you. She will comfort you with words while testing you with silence. She will hold your hand while wondering, can he carry me through the storm? And make no mistake, every woman, even the most loving, has a test to offer, not to hurt you, but to measure you, because her survival and the survival of her children once depended on choosing the man who could carry weight, the man who could endure. Here's the part most modern men don't understand. She is not your enemy. She is nature itself. She is the wind, the fire, the storm. And you are the ship. Weak ships break. Strong ships sail. So don't ask her to be softer. Build a stronger ship. Now pause. I know what you might be thinking. What about my feelings? What about my kindness? What about my loyalty, my vulnerability, my intentions? None of that matters to biology. Nature doesn't reward intentions. It rewards results. And women, whether they admit it or not, are wired to admire results, not dreams. Strength, not softness. Provision, not poetry. You were raised in a world of illusions, taught to believe that if you just opened up enough, cried enough, shared enough, you'd be loved endlessly. But life is not a Disney movie. It's a Darwinian jungle. Let's go deeper into Schopenhauer's frame. He said, "Woman is by nature meant to obey." Now don't misunderstand that. It's not a call for domination. It's not about control. It's about balance. The masculine creates. The feminine selects. The masculine initiates. The feminine responds. A man leads. A woman follows when she trusts his direction. If she doesn't trust your backbone, she won't follow you. She may pretend, but deep down, her instinct will resist. Because submission is not a gift she gives to the weak. It is a reward for the man she can't help but respect. So if your woman constantly argues, tests, withdraws, belittles, it's not random. It's her subconscious saying, you haven't earned leadership, and you can't demand leadership. You command it with presence, with decisiveness, with consistency, with strength under pressure, not once, every day. The man who expects her to love him for being a good guy will always lose to the man who simply is a force. Because women don't choose based on the man who tries the hardest. They choose based on the man who carries the most, without crumbling. And here's the most painful part. She will never explain this to you. She may not even consciously understand it herself, but her biology does. You weren't born to be sweet. You weren't born to be safe. You weren't born to be liked. You were born to be tempered, tested, crushed, and reforged. And yes, you were born to be used. Used by life, used by purpose, used by something greater than comfort. Because greatness comes at a cost, and that cost is suffering. But suffering alone is not noble. Suffering must be transformed into strength. Look at the heroes of old. Achilles, who raged and wept, but fought. Odysseus, who suffered exile and returned wiser. They weren't admired for their emotions. They were revered for their fortitude. That's the path. Not tears for approval, but scars that speak of sovereignty. So the next time she ignores your kindness, the next time your love feels unnoticed, the next time your vulnerability is met with silence, don't take it as cruelty. Take it as a signpost. You are not called to collapse. You are called to ascend. Let your suffering become sacred, not a scream for validation, but a signal to yourself that you are becoming the kind of man who no longer needs approval to stand tall. And when she watches you, and she will either see a boy begging to be seen or a man who carries his world quietly. Schopenhauer didn't hate women. He pitied men who misunderstood them. He knew that women are not obstacles. They are tests, reflections, mirrors. They are the storm that reveals whether the foundation of a man is real. So stop trying to be understood. Stop needing to be liked. Stop asking to be saved. Build your strength. Build your craft. Build your mission. Let her find you in the storm, not as a man begging for peace, but as a man who commands it from within. Marriage, Schopenhauer said, is not the gaining of rights. It is the doubling of your duties. So don't walk into it like a child hoping for comfort. Walk into it like a king, prepared to rule himself first. If she draws energy from your pain, let it be the pain of a man of fire, not a boy made of dust. Stop pleading. Stop apologizing for your strength. Stop hiding your power in the hopes of fitting into a world that rewards mediocrity. Stand. You are not born to be pitied. You are born to be revered. And reverence is not handed out. It is earned through fire. If something in this message resonated with you, if you felt the cold slap of a truth you've always suspected, then stand with us. Like, share, subscribe. Not just for this channel, but for this mission. We are not here to please. We are not here to be accepted. We are here to rise above the illusions. We are building a brotherhood of men who choose strength over comfort, truth over delusion, responsibility over resentment. The war is not against women. The war is against weakness. And we rise beyond the illusions.